Okay, we're back live, part two with Tod Barker. So, now you want to answer that question, Todd, about what happened to the door on a little bit, Anglia?
Yeah, a little bit. We actually pulled off the end of the strip after making our first pass, qualifying pass. I believe it was on Thursday, if I remember right. And we pulled off at the end on the first turn. We're on the right-hand side, and a young couple are in a front end dragster on the left-hand side of the road, and there's an open pathway between us. Well, lo and behold, we're rolling up our parachute. I've got my door open. We're rolling our parachute up, and the other couple, the young guy, he's standing by the dragster, and his wife is standing like in front of the header of the dragster. Well, lo and behold, a guy in an altered come through there, and his parachute swung, and the parachute was actually going to slap and hit the dragster, the couple over there in the dragster over there. And my son was quick enough in thinking that he seen it happening, and he throwed his hand out and slapped the parachute. Well, the parachute flew. When it did that, the parachute stayed away from the people in the dragster and actually swung over. It made it catch the door on the anglia, and it bent the door completely back on the anglia, back up to the fender and over the header and everything. And the guy I'm just standing there in awe because I don't even know what to say about the deal. Well, the guy in the the anglia or altered, he just pulls on up forward and jumps out and starts hollering at all of us that we needed to get the blank out of the way and everything. And we told him we couldn't because there was cars in front of us. It's all been jammed up. They shouldn't have all stacked us up there. And luckily enough, out of the whole entire deal, the good part about it was we didn't get hurt. The couple over there with the dragster, they didn't get hurt. This guy, he was already in a hole anyway, so it wasn't really going to matter anyways on the deal. So he's just going to be that away himself anyway. So I finally told him, I said, you need to shut up and go on. So he loaded his, or we pulled off about that time. Well, that poor couple, they felt so bad for us because we had the door off the anglia over there in the pits, and I'm standing on the door trying to push the door back out and straighten the door back out, that they go down and make us sandwiches for me and my son and my pit crew and everything, make us sandwiches and bring them back to us to tell us how much they appreciate us helping them not get caught with that parachute, because it would have yanked that car and run over and hurt both of them people bad. And we said, that's okay. Everybody was okay. We can always repaint a car or refix the door, but we can't replace people. And I told my son I was proud of him for not letting himself get hurt or let those people get hurt. So, that little dent in the door just kind of reminds us of that, of how we all take care of each other as a family in drag racing, the ones that care about each other.
Right. So now, when you were growing up, Todd, what was your favorite cartoon growing up?
What was my favorite what?
Favorite cartoon.
Oh, we watched so many different cartoons, but I think I probably watched about as much Three Stooges as I did anything else. We'd watched a lot of different stuff. I like Speed Racer some and those natures and stuff like that, but I just watched a little bit of everything. But I spent more time reading and studying hot rod magazines than I did probably watching cartoons.
So your favorite TV show growing up would be the Three Stooges then?
Probably so. I watched a lot of that, and we all kind of jack with each other a whole lot. Our whole family knows that. But it's all out of good fun and enjoying each other and just being around each other and stuff like that. So
now, if you weren't a drag racer, what do you think you'd be doing?
If I wasn't drag racing, well, as crazy as it sounds on the whole entire deal, I actually am a electronics guy that I do a lot of electronics repairs with a company that I'm actually with now. So I would probably be doing that, or I'm actually a certified A&P mechanic, so I'd either be working on airplanes, doing that stuff, or the electronics on airplanes or something of that nature. But it would always be something mechanically related. I've just always been very mechanical, and I enjoy working with my hands and doing that kind of stuff.
All right, now let me ask you this fun question here. If someone were to hand you $200 million and ask you to build a brand new drag race track, where would you consider building a brand new drag race track, and what kind of features would you want to put into a new track?
Oh boy, I would probably probably end up having to. I would probably end up moving the track. I like Mocan, Kansas area up in that direction. I like Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's got so many tracks, and they've got Enos. I mean, Enos is a pivotal track on the deal. But it would have to be a track more towards up around Kansas, somewhere up in there. I would probably end up having, an all-concrete track as far as that goes. I'd probably have large screen TVs like a NFL-type football game type thing or a basketball game where you had things down through the center and you could actually watch the whole entire drag strip, throughout the race. But I probably wouldn't have as many national-type events at it as I would gasser events and people of that nature, just because those people just know how to enjoy themselves and go do things like that. So I'd have a pretty good venue where it would be a large covered area to where they could all park in the under some covered parking, and then I would have as much asphalt as you could actually put in one square, section, a 660-foot or 60-acre section, so everybody could actually have asphalt parking and not have to park in the grass, because all the gassers always have to park in the grass. So I would want everybody to have asphalt. So that'd be my main feature right there.
All right. So now, what would you consider to be the fondest memory of your drag racing career?
Oh, probably some of my fondest memory of the drag racing. Well, there's probably two of them, or there's two or three of them if you get into that kind of deal. I remember drag racing with my dad, and whenever we ran a blown small block, and I built the small block myself, and I built all the motors and that stuff myself with this, and my son helps me with them throughout my career and everything. But probably drag racing that altered. We ran a 790 index with that car and traveling with my dad and getting to race that car because I don't get to race with him anymore. So I'd say that's probably one of my fondest memories.
All right, now I was reading on Facebook earlier, the comments about this interview. You're gonna call out some names. Are you gonna do that?
Well, my name calling out was that I was making sure that people like Jerry Lopez, people like Jesse Holmes, Frankie Allen, Brian Spot, all the guys, those are the kind of guys that people, when you go to the drag races, those are the guys that are shaking your hands, telling you thank you for coming, being part of the event, and they make you feel like a family member. Whenever you see those guys, you don't just get to walk up and shake their hand. You walk up and you see those guys, and they grab you and they give you a hug. So even if they ain't seen you in 2 years, it doesn't matter. Those guys there are the guys that are always around, and nobody's a stranger. Everybody is your friend, and they all try to help each other. They're always smiling. Those are just the people that you enjoy going to drag racing and watching and being around and stuff like that. That's the name dropping that I'm doing on them guys.
Okay.
So if you're at one of those events, or if you're at a gasser deal and you see a yellow River Rat 55 that says River Rat on the side of it, go over and tell him. Talk to that guy, because that guy right there can talk your ear off, and he is a great guy to hang around with. Same way as Brian Spots, all them guys out of the Dirty South Gassers. They're all, any drag racing event you go to that's got gassers at it, I promise you can walk in their pits, you can probably sit in their car, you can probably take pictures with them. They may have a T-shirt, they may not, but if they don't, they'll sign a hat, they'll do whatever it is to make you feel welcome at those drag racing events. That's what those guys, they love doing that stuff, and that's what gasser guys like to do.
All right, now I got another question from the chat box from Cody Ellis. He asked, "What is your all-time favorite hot rod or favorite classic car?"
Ooh, my favorite all-time car, and I like a 33 Willys. I mean, it's up there in the deal. A 41 Willys is way up there in the deal, but when it comes down to it, I'm just a funny car nut. I love any funny car. My first car was a '68 Camaro, and I mean, I still like those cars, but if it's a funny car, I'm weak in the knees for a funny car, no matter which one it is.
All right, now I got another question in the chat box from Drag Racing GF. How did you come up with the paint job on Little Bit and the pinstriping?
You know what's kind of crazy about that was whenever I decided to paint Little Bit, the car, I actually knew that I wanted it candy apple red as far as the outside of it, but I wanted a 60s paint job, and I couldn't figure out what the panel paint was going to be on the side of the car. And I'd actually decided I bought lace and I bought a bunch of different stuff trying to figure out what I wanted to do to it. And I was asleep when I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've got an old helmet that my dad had. It is one of those red, white, and blue helmets from the 60s type deal. And it made me think of the red, white, and blue, and it's just like that paint job just instantly came to my head. And the next night, I went down there to the paint booth, and I sat down and striped that whole entire car out and sat there and painted on that car for 2 days, trying to get that whole entire thing to lay down and do what it is. And then as far as the Little Bit and everything on the side of it, I know a gentleman by the name Leonard Wren, and Leonard Wren actually has a 40 Willys that we helped run some this year, and we actually ran it at some different events for him and with him. And Leonard is a master artist that actually paints all over the world. And somebody told me, said, well, he used to do pinstriping. I said, well, I'll hit Leonard up about this deal. And I hit Leonard up and I said, hey, would you be interested in doing the gold leaf on the side of it? I've got this design in my head, and I want to put Little Bit, America's Little Bit, on the side of the car. And he said, yeah, I'll do it. I said, okay. So I drawed my design out and everything and had it all set up, and I put it on the car, and Leonard showed up. He lives in Tulsa, about 3 hours away. And he said, and I said, come on, let me show you what I got and everything. And he walks in, and he said, nope, that won't work. I said, no, but this is the way I want it. He said, no, that won't work. That ain't what you want. I said, well, okay, then you tell me what I want. He said, I got something. So he pulls out a piece of paper and hangs it up on the side of the car. And it's exactly what's on the car today, because he knew exactly what to do with the car. I knew how to paint the car, but I couldn't get the lettering the way I wanted it in my head. It still just didn't look right. So I took the doors off, and I gave them to Leonard, and he took them in his van and took them back to Tulsa. And about 2 weeks later, he brought the doors back to me, and we put the doors on the car, and then he done some of the other lettering and all the other stuff on the rest of the car. That's all done by Leonard Wren out of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
All right, so there's your answer, Drag Racing GF. So Todd, how important do you think it is for the families to bring the kids out to watch drag racing these days?
Say again, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said, how important do you think it is for families to bring the kids out to watch drag racing these days?
Oh, I think I think the kids enjoy the drag racing and stuff, and anytime we're at one of the events, what part of our fun is that we actually have old spark plugs that we take out a little bit, and we write a little bit on the spark plugs, and we give them to the small kids and stuff like that, because for them to come and see those kind of deals, that's what's important to carry the sport on with everybody else. And that's why I've kind of my oldest son Cody and my youngest son Alex, and then even my 2 daughters Destiny and Shelby, they've all been to the drag races, and they all have an appreciation for that stuff, and they have an appreciation for older cars and the history that goes into it, because America was built on these cars and the highways that travel back and forth throughout the United States. So I think it's important for us to remember that history.
Now this next question, Todd, if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to answer it. Do you support the President of the United States?
Do I what now?
Do you support the President of the United States currently?
Oh, yeah. I'm a Trump fan. I'm not going to deny it in any way, shape, or form. I mean, and it just happened to coincide that I painted a little bit as a red, white, and blue because I believe in making America great again. So, yeah, I support the president.
Yeah, same here. My wife and I voted for him, and everyone should vote red. November 6th, vote red, Republican. We gotta knock. We gotta knock the Democrats out of there.
Well, we gotta drain the swamp. There ain't no doubt about it. We got to drain the swamp, whether it's a Democrat or Republican or what it is. But we need to fix what's going on in the Congress and Senate, all that mess up there. There is some changes that need to be made by all means.
Okay, now we got another question from the chat box. They want to know, do you have a page where people can follow you at for your drag racing?
Well, most of mine, I actually have a hot rod shop that I actually restore cars, do auto restoration, and it's called Attitude Rods by Tod. And a lot of times we post some things for about a little bit, but mainly if you actually go to Tod Barker and find me on Facebook, you'll actually see a picture of Little Bit, the red, white, and blue car, which eventually will change to the back and black funny car. But most of the time, if you follow me, Tod Barker, and it's just TOD1D on Facebook, then most of the time you'll see everything that's going on with all the different events we go to, because we're pretty good about posting stuff. My wife's pretty good about taking pictures and posting, and then I'll post them over on my page at the same time. I like having a separate page, but it's hard to keep up with both pages when you're trying to do that. So I just finally gave up and put everything under Tod Barker.
All right. Well, Tod, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do an interview with me tonight.
Oh, yeah, we've enjoyed it. I'm glad you're out there finding people and talking to them and keeping people involved in the drag racing. I think you're doing a good job on trying to, spread the word and keep everybody up on all this stuff.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I like to promote some of you smaller nostalgia people.
Yeah, well, and we appreciate that. Anytime we can put in a word for some other guys or some other events and stuff like that just brings more people out, which tells more people, and the next thing you know, all those events grow and grow and grow, and everybody gets to enjoy it. Because it's about the fans. In the end of it, it's about your family, your friends, and your fans. And if you've got all those, then you're having all the fun you can have.
Yeah, we'll definitely do another interview in the future where we'll talk about the funny car when it's running.
Yeah, we'll get the funny car up and running and everything. Give us a holler, and we'll have a breakdown of how it's going and what all we're doing with it, and how we're advancing, and if we're doing any good, if we're just tearing up parts, whichever way it goes on the deal.
Now, do you have any final words or thank yous or anything you want to give out to anybody?
Well, I like to thank my friends. I'd like to thank my families. They're all usually, 100% behind me as far as supporting me and doing things with me. They lose a lot of time. The family loses a lot of time with us traveling up and down the road and doing these kind of things. But we appreciate them. We appreciate, the people that have done this before us. Because a lot of times we forget about the people that have already done all this and been around and done it. So we thank all those people at the same time, and the guys, the photographers. I'll tell you, the photographers don't get near enough credit, because there's a lot of photographers that take pictures, and if it wasn't for those guys taking that little snapshot in time and history, it would be forgotten about, and we would not have that for the future reference when you look back and you go, oh yeah, I remember that car.
Exactly.
So we thank the photographers too.
Yep. Well, Tod, I want to thank you very much again for your time.
Yep, and thank you. We appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. And you have a great night.
Okay, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.